How's it going, everyone? I'm gonna wait for people to trickle in here. Cool. I think we just hit live, so we're just gonna get these people to trickle in, and then we will get started here in a second. Super stoked about this, guys. So if you are in the room already right now, we'll get started, but real quick, can you guys go to open up the chat box, and there's a section that says to-. Make sure you put panelists and attendees. Make sure you don't have just panelists. You have panelists and attendees checkbox for the chat box. That way, everyone can see the whole chat. And you don't miss any messages. Cool. You guys should also put real quick in the comment section, like, where are you from? Put your city. What's up, everyone? Put your city, where you're from. I'd love to see. I got some New York. Then we got London, San Francisco, Salt Lake City. Yeah, we got a bunch of people tuning in from all over. So yeah, go ahead and put your city and where you guys are from. That'll be awesome to see. So also, if you're just joining in, make sure to check box panelists and attendees. Again, not just panelists. And also there's a box at the bottom that's also Q&A. If you see there's chat and there's Q&A. Make sure to ask any questions in the Q&A box, because that's where we'll be referring to for the end for the Q&A. And also we have Emily from Adobe. She's on this call as well, and she's going to be answering all the questions that she can on this Q&A box. So if you have a question regarding this presentation or anything at all, make sure to put it into the Q&A section, and then either I or Emily will be able to get back to it. Cool. So maybe we'll wait like a minute or so. There's still some more people trickling in. So at the end of this call, of this workshop as well, guys, we're going to be doing like a Q&A. So as we go throughout this whole presentation and workshop, if you have any questions, make sure to jot them down into the Q&A box so that we can answer them at the very end. Because I want to make sure that you guys all get your answers for any questions, so there's not any things you're still curious about once this workshop is over. Of course, we're going to try our very best to get to everything, but definitely don't be shy to ask questions. One thing I also want to mention is at the very end of this workshop, there's going to be a survey that we're going to be putting into the chat box. And so with the survey, would really be appreciated if you guys can fill it out. It's just going to give us feedback and how we can plan these events moving forward. So make sure to click the link in the chat box for the survey. So that way you guys can fill it out at the end of the workshop. Cool. If you guys are tuning in just now, let me know where you guys are from. Put in the city you guys are tuning in from. I'd love to see. We got Iceland. Iceland is an epic place. Been there before. Montana, Long Beach, South Carolina, West Palm Beach, LA. Crazy. Got a lot of California, actually. Nice. Chicago, Washington, Brooklyn. Nice. Super awesome to have all you guys here. I really hope to share some of my workflow with you guys, and maybe you guys can take something away from it of value. I don't have all the answers, but I do have my workflow dialed in when it comes to editing, and I'm hoping that you guys can take something away. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen, and we can get this workshop started. Let me adjust my chair real quick. It's kind of okay. There we go. Okay, awesome. Gonna share my screen. Let's see here. What's up, everyone? thank you for tuning in to this online workshop. If you're tuning in, whether if you saw an ad or you're here from my Instagram, welcome. This is called the Editor's Edge, Enhancing Your Edit. So let's get into it. If you don't know who I am, that's totally fine. My name is Edward Lee, and I'm a filmmaker and photographer based in the Seattle, Washington area. My main focus has been video production and creative business coaching. So things like this, like helping people on the business mindset and actual creating aspect of their whole process. One big thing about me is that I love helping other people succeed, especially other creatives. It's kind of the route that I'm going, and I actually love doing stuff like this. I want to see other people win because I know exactly what it feels like to, not have all the resources or be first starting out and not knowing where to go, where to look. And so I'm a big advocate of people who are first emerging, because I feel like you can learn at any part of your creative process. So no matter what level you are right now, if you're on this call, on this workshop, you could be well on your freelance journey. You could be working for a company already doing content creation. Regardless, I'm hoping that something along this workshop, you can take something away and help you in your journey to becoming successful. And so for those of you guys who don't know who I am or don't really follow my work too closely, some of the brands that I have worked with are like Polar Pro. You might recognize some of these brands down below, Orbikey, Rhino. I used to work at Rhino actually, so I kind of have experience in the startup world, editing and creating in that environment on both the brand side and social media. And I've worked with a few more lifestyle brands lately, but I've done a lot of different types of content creation. I've done lifestyle, I've done camera tech, I've done talking, I've done just cinematic sequences. And so hopefully I can show you guys in our editing workflow today of kind of principles and foundations that you can apply to a wide range of video editing. So no matter what industry you're in, there should be something that you can implement, because these are not, what we're going to go over today is not for a specific type of video. It's more of just like the foundational pieces of editing. So on the agenda today, we have, first, we're going to be going over my file management, kind of how I organize my files as soon as a project is done. And then we're going to be going into starting the actual edit itself, the video edit in Adobe Premiere Pro. And then also we'll be going over music and audio, kind of how I implement fixing audio and also the music. We're going to be going over my color grading process. It's more of a simple color grading. Obviously, there are programs and things that we can do to really dial in the color. But today, for time's sake, and also for you guys to keep it simple, I'm going to be showing you guys like a drop, basically plug and play, simple color grading method. We're going to be going a little bit into sound design and also motion graphic titles. Lately, with YouTube and TikTok and Reels, like everyone needs titles lately in their content. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that inside Adobe Premiere Pro using their Essentials graphic tab, which we'll get into in a little bit. And then I'll also show you guys my export settings. It's pretty simple, but I want to show you guys kind of the parameters that I set in Adobe Premiere Pro before exporting my videos. So the first thing we're going to go over is file organization and management. So first things first, you have to make folders for everything, guys. Like, make folders for everything. Staying organized with your files is a big key. You want to make sure that you stay organized with your files, because if you don't stay organized, that's how you're going to have a hard time diving into old projects. And even though you finish a project, that doesn't necessarily mean the job will always be finished. I know you guys can probably relate. Maybe you can let us know in the chat section of experience you had, but for the most part, there are going to be times when you have to dive back into an old project. So keeping them organized is super crucial. The reason why you want to keep all your assets, which is the second point, is to keep all the assets to your project in one folder. Okay, this is important. I'm about to show you guys my hard drive in a second and kind of how I organize it. But for the most part, having everything in one folder is key, because you guys have probably, if you're familiar with Adobe Premiere Pro, there's a time when you try to open an old project and the media is not linking because the source is not in the folder you thought it was going to be. And then before you know it, you have to scan your entire hard drive. Depending on how big and how many files are in your hard drive, it can take a long time to find the file. If it's like trying to search through thousands and thousands or hundreds of gigs of data. So making sure all your assets that are in your Premiere Pro project file are also in the source file or in your desktop folder is really important. The last thing is to use organization bins in Premiere Pro. So basically, I'm gonna show you guys that to be easier to see with a visual, but it's gonna be really crucial that you actually mirror what you put in your source folder in Adobe Premiere Pro. So let's go into a little bit of screen sharing. So I have here with me, if you guys can see, my desktop is really empty, and I do that on purpose. So I'm not trying to personally attack anyone in the chat box or anyone who's tuning in, but you guys have probably seen people who have apps everywhere on their desktop, right? They just have stuff everywhere on their desktop, and that's a bad way to stay organized. I'm sorry if you feel personally attacked. I'm just saying that to state the truth, but let me show you what I do. So yeah, basically, someone's saying in the chat box, it's hidden. So let me show you the hidden stuff. So right now I have 2 hard drives. I edit off, if you're wondering more of a technical gear thing, I use G Technology G-RAID hard drives, okay? They're reliable, they're RAID storage, and I try not to have all my files in a huge, massive hard drive. The reason why I say that is because I try to have a new hard drive per year or max 2 years, because if you have 10 years of files on one huge 100 terabyte drive or something, what if something happens and all your files are gone? So I like to try to split it up per year. That way I just label it and I can grab the hard drive. But so I have 2020 here and 2021. So I'm going to open 2021. So this is where I live. This is like my editing drive for everything. And so I have 3 folders here. I have a working folder, a business folder, and a personal folder. Pretty self-explanatory, but yeah, obviously everything work related goes in the business folder. Personal life things like passion projects, family pictures, anything personal related goes in the personal. But working is kind of where I spend most of my time, because that is where I put all of my projects when they're currently active or in the pipeline essentially. So here I have an active folder, unfinished, tools, and finished. These are tagged between, like, obviously green is things that I'm done with. Tools are just like assets. So tools that I use in Premiere Pro, Lightroom, After Effects, whatever it is, all my tools live in here. So if you click on this, all my sound effects, music, my overlays, my LUTs, like everything that I buy that is a creative asset goes into the tool folder. Someone asked how big is the drives that I have. I use 20 terabyte hard drives. That is kind of overkill depending on your camera. I shoot on Blackmagic's cameras, or the Blackmagic Pocket cameras, and just overall file sizes, like a project can be anywhere between 300 to 500 gigs. But if you're shooting on like a Canon EOS R, like a mirrorless body like Sony a7S III, something like that, you don't need 20 terabytes. If you're trying to do the yearly drive route, you can just definitely get by with like 10 terabytes, probably half that. So you're totally fine. But if you're shooting on like a Red, Blackmagic, any kind of like big setup like that, you're definitely going to want a more hefty hard drive. So that's my tools folder. Unfinished, actually nothing in here right now. Maybe in my 2020 I have unfinished. Yeah, these are just like projects that got left behind. I still need to finish. I put in my unfinished folder. Active, obviously, is self-explanatory. Like, these are all my active projects that I'm currently working on that need to be finished or need to be reviewed, need to be edited. Currently still talking with clients on getting these done. And so what's great about having my active folder, right? You wanna, once it's finished from the active folder, I will drag it into the finished folder. And once it's in the finished folder, after that, then I will bring it into my business folder and organize it when it's done. So I have like a 3-stage process to stay super organized. When I need to find projects, I know exactly where it is in the pipeline. So going into the actual project itself, when it's finished, what should it look like? If you look here, I have assets, which is all the assets that I've used in the Premiere Pro project file. I have Blackmagic 6K, which is all my footage from my camera. And also the deliverables that I sent the client. These are all the deliverables I sent to the client. Footage from other cameras, music, So kind of what I'm trying to explain and show you guys, and even photos are in here. And I have photos between edited photos, raw photos from that shoot. What I want to show you guys is that everything that is in this Premiere Pro project file is also in this one folder. It's really important that you do that, because when you have Premiere Pro open, you want to make sure if you need to find old files, it can link very seamlessly. So that's kind of my file management, guys. I don't want to go too more in depth on that. It's really simple, but I'm telling you guys, being organized with your files is super important, because when you have to dive into that project from 5 years ago or 3 years ago, trust me, future version of yourself will thank you for having this type of organization. And if you're like me, more like a side note, and you're really kind of like, you don't want stuff on your desktop, I have a folder literally called desktop on my desktop. So I can throw in all that random junk that would normally be living on my desktop. I just throw it into a folder. I just have to one extra click to find it. But this is all the random stuff that would normally live on my screen here somewhere. So I put it into a desktop. Okay, so enough on file organization. Let's get into something, the next part. We're gonna go into starting the edit. I'm gonna dive into Premiere Pro, guys, and show you kind of starting the edit. Once I actually, let's say I have a shoot, I've dumped all the files with the file organization tips that I've just shown you. How do we start the edit? I'm gonna go over cutting up footage using in and out points and a pancake timeline to assemble your video. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So here I have my Adobe Premiere project open. And first things first, as you guys can see here, on the bottom left, this is my bin. And this is clearly organized, very similar, actually, even the naming to the source file that I was telling you guys. This is a different project, but overall the same things like assets, music, motion graphic templates, things like that. And all my sequences are down here. There's more sequences than normal because I want to show you guys each step of this process. So I traditionally like to view my bins in this icon format, but I know a lot of people like to view it in this list format. It's more of a preference, no matter what you like to do. Choose whatever best fits your workflow. But this is what the beginning of an edit for me looks like. So I have all my B-roll cut up before I actually assemble the video. This is like a cooking video that I did for a client. And this is definitely not all the B-roll, but I wanted to start this process for you guys. So before I got here, what I did was I have Blackmagic 6K, which is my folder of video clips. And these are all the footage. And literally after shoot, I will go in here, depending on how much time I have. I try to do this step so I can see very cohesively through all the footage. So I have, let's see here. Let me pull up a clip. So let's say I have this clip right here, right? I pulled it up. I'm gonna clear these in and out points. When you pull up a clip, it shows up in the media window right on the top left side. From there, essentially, I will choose a point, right? I'll choose a point. Let's say I want from here to here. What I just did was I used the keys in and out, which is I and O on the keyboard. This is important, and this will make you a much, much more efficient editor. Use I and O on the keyboard to not just drag the clip. Like, so traditionally, what I used to do in the past is I will drag this whole clip, right? Let me link this. I used to just drag this entire clip. Let's see how it's not dragging. I used to drag this entire clip into the timeline, and then I would scrub through it, and then I would literally cut like it manually and like try to find my spot. And that's fine. It just takes a lot longer. So actually, if you skip that, view it in here, scrub through it quickly, use I, O. Now it just knows to take that point, and I can just grab the media or both, and I grab this point out, and it's right in that section that we talked about. So using I and O for shortcuts is a game changer, guys. So moving along in this editing workflow, let's say I have all the B-roll clips cut up. As you guys can see, I have it all cut up here. Now what? Next, we have assembly. And this is kind of where I would use my A-roll, use my kind of assemble my timeline. But what was really going to help with this is when you put your A-roll down, this is A-roll, guys, is this section right here. It's the talking bits. B-roll is stuff I lay over the A-roll, which is why it's called B-roll, because it's supplemental footage to the bottom. So one thing that really helps with assembling your video is once you have it all cut up, you see your B-roll timeline, you took all your B-roll. Basically, you take this panel and you put it on top of your assembly timeline. You put it on top of your assembly timeline. And so now you're editing your video, you can see, you know, what it is, scrub through it, but immediately right here, you have your B-roll. So let's say you're watching like this clip right here, and you want to have a clip and drag it down. All you got to do is move it from top to bottom, right? This saves so much time, guys, because before you'd have to go between two sequences, at least that's what I used to do, but stacking it in a pancake style format like this will save you a lot of time because you can just scrub here, B-roll, you're watching this, you're like, okay, there's like a talking bit right here, right? There's like a talking bit. Okay, I need B-roll right here. It's looking too much talking, right? So I'll go here, see, all right, here's some B-roll. Obviously this is just like, there's no storytelling. I'm just telling you guys to clip. But let's say I want to cut up this cut right here or cover up this cut. Boom, I have B-roll now. So this is really important. It will save you so much time in your edit. So there's a question in the chat box that says, so did he create another sequence with the B-roll? Yes. Keep in mind, guys, you see all these tabs right here? These are all separate sequences. I did this for the workshop, but to answer your question, yes, you need to have a B-roll in one sequence and then have your assembly or your final edit in another sequence. So you want to separate it all. That's how I do it at least, and I think that's really been helped. But yeah, this pancake style timeline editing is a game changer and will save you a ton of time. I know it has for me. So I'm gonna actually put that back down here. When you're done with the pancake timeline editing, you can just assemble it back because it's kind of, depending on how big your monitor is, you might not want, it's hard to have a lot of panels open just because you might not have enough real estate. So moving on to the next step. After, let's say you've assembled your video and it's kind of in place, right? You have your B-roll, A-roll, now you have audio that you need to deal with, right? So music, audio levels, and that's what we're gonna go over next. In choosing music and fixing audio, I'm gonna share with you guys finding the right track. Not necessarily, you don't have enough time to actually sift through the websites and stuff like that, or how I find music, because if you guys know and can relate, finding music can take hours if you're really particular about the type of music you're trying to find. So it's actually really important that you do, take your time, don't rush finding music. You always want to find good music for your videos. But I'm going to share a little bit on that. I'm going to also share with you guys why it's so important to cut to the beat, and just like in general, what to look for in audio files to definitely speed up your workflow a bit. And also fixing audio levels using the AI that's in the Premiere Pro with the auto ducking feature. It's actually pretty mind-blowing, and I'm excited to share that feature with you guys. So let's get into, let me open this chat box because I want to make sure to see you guys if you have any comments. So first things first, like where I find music from a few different places. Obviously, you guys may know already, there are places like Epidemic Sound, MusicBed, Artlist. Personally, I use MusicBed, and also Adobe has a stock library of music as well, which is pretty insane. Let me show you real quick. So let's say I have a video here, right? Say I have a video right here. Clean up these timelines a little bit. I need to find music. If you open up this essential sound tab, there's a browse section. I'm not sure if you guys have dealt with this a lot, but this browse section is something they've been working on pretty closely, especially it's been dialed in a lot more for Adobe Premiere Pro 2020, which is the one we're in right now. This is the most recent version of Premiere Pro. If you look into this section, you can literally find everything you need with music in this section. And my first question, which a lot of you guys probably have too, is like licensing, right? Like how does this even work? Like, don't you need licensing? Like places like MusicBed and all the places, they need subscriptions. So Adobe, if you go, I'm sure maybe Emily can put in the chat, but she's helping out and she's from Adobe, and she probably could put in the chat, but you do need an Adobe account, and these work off credits. So you buy credits on Adobe Stock website, like 10 credits, and I'm pretty sure like one song is like 1 credit, right? So you have 10 credits, you could buy different bundles or packages. But this is the part that really saves you time though. You can scrub through music in here. So let's say I find, let's see here. Let's say I find, let's go genres. I like usually like hip hop, and they have hip hop here. And you can place on the timeline, like let's say we want to start in the beginning of the video, that's where we're gonna test the audio track. When you click chill hip hop, this song right here, like it'll literally play alongside your timeline, which is pretty insane. And so let's say we were to grab this clip, and that's the thing that really saves a lot of time too, guys, is when you find music on like another software or a platform like MusicBed or something like that, that's totally fine. But you go through the loophole of having to like download the song, save it to your desktop, import it into Premiere Pro, see if it fits your video, and then it doesn't, you got to go back to MusicBed or Artlist or whatever. You got to go back there, and then also, you know, try to keep doing that process to find the right song. So basically, if you go like this, and I'm testing the music now on there from the audio, I can hear it in real time, directly drag and drop right there. And actually Adobe has collaborated with like Epidemic and places like that. So a lot of these songs are actually on other platforms as well. And so it's not just like a bootleg version where there's like not that many songs. Basically, I said in the chat box, we're hitting some audio feedback. Yeah, I don't have audio linked, guys, because audio feedback is just not that great in Zoom. So we're just gonna save your guys' ears and not do that. I want to show you guys mainly like the principles and foundation of what I'm doing. So yeah, that's what's great about Adobe Stock, is that once you go to this library, you can actually like listen to music here, drag and drop. You can literally drag the clip, drag the song straight into your timeline. And what you can see if you go here into your bins, as you can see here, it's literally created like a folder of the songs that you've dragged in, and you click this icon, the shopping cart icon, and it'll open up Adobe Stock. And yeah, if I press continue, I can license the track right then and there, and then boom, you're ready to go. So it saves a lot of time in trying to figure out the right songs, which is really, really handy. So that's Adobe Stock. There's definitely way more to it than that, but definitely feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A, and then we can try to answer them regarding Adobe Stock. The next thing I want to show you guys is just in general, like, I'm not sure if you guys already do this, but look at the waveforms of your audio track. So if you look at the audio levels here, like you can see where it's spiking up, right? And so like, for example, when I'm looking for to cut a song to the beat, I look for spikes like this, especially when there's drops. If you can see, even on this stock audio, there's drops. I will keep an eye on those levels when looking for a song, because I see if it's like low level and it's like a huge spike, and it's like a good song to use that has like a build up where I want them to drop on a clip, and understanding how to read these levels and cut to the beat instead of trying to listen really, really closely and see like where to cut it. If you just look at these audio waves and you can just see where the beat's hitting, you'll cut a lot faster to the beat. And as you guys know, like cutting to the beat, especially for promo video content, is really, really important. So making sure that you look at these audio waves are really a crucial step in matching audio to your video, but also saving a lot of time. And this is really what this whole workshop is about, is enhancing your edit, but also being way more time efficient in your edit. Because becoming a fast editor just takes practice. And I'm still not even the fastest editor, but these are all tips that have were game changers for me when I was trying to learn. The next thing I want to show you guys is auto ducking, which is pretty cool. So let me show you. Auto ducking. So as you guys can see in the timeline, there's a section here that they're not talking, or the talent that I have for this shoot is not talking. As you can see, this is just B-roll. And then it starts talking again, right? So traditionally, this is where you'd want to duck the audio. You guys all know that, where the music gets a little softer, or I mean, music gets a little louder, and then when they start talking, the music gets softer again. There's actually several ways to go about this, but I'm gonna show you what I think is the fastest and easiest way to do this. Let's see here. So if you go to edit, what I'm gonna do is, this is the essential sound tab, guys, by the way. On the right side, I'm in the effects panel, and this is the essential sound tab. What I'm going to do is, if you drag all this clip, this is the dialogue, right? All the A-roll where she's talking, or the client in this, you click dialogue. Now, what essential sound tab has done, it has grouped all this A-roll sequence as dialogue, which is someone talking, right? And actually within here, you can do like auto matching the levels, because sometimes some people talk soft and then some people talk really loud. And so if you do set it all into dialogue and then auto match, it'll compensate for all those little things and auto match the levels. So it saves the time there. You can also has parametric equalizers. So if you guys know in the past, if you've done audio fixing for your audio with dialogue or music and like that, these are all features that kind of, a lot of them lived in the effects tab, but now it's all grouped together seamlessly on the right side in the essential sound tab. You can do like enhancing speech, reverb, clip, like all the stuff. They even have presets. So if you look at creative on the right side here, let's say we do creative. So you could do like auditorium, a large reflective room, outside the club, a small room, like a warm voice, a soft voice. It even asks if it's, when you enhance speech, if it's male or female. So like these are just presets that you had to really like dial in before, but they've made it seamless where you can just click it all, assign it as dialogue, and then group all the dialogue into one setting and tweak it in real time, which is really great. But the auto ducking, so that's dialogue. Now I have music here, right? This is a track of, this is like a song. So what I do is, essentially, if I take this and I click music, right? Now it has assigned this track as music. So essentially, this is like the program doing its magic. It knows that that is music. It knows when I basically go back out over here, when I click dialogue over here, it highlights all the dialogue. It knows that it's dialogue. If I click out and I click music, it knows that that section is music. And so what I can do as well is, if let's say I want, she's talking over here, right? Let's say I want the music to start ramping back up over here. I want the music to be loud, but then when the B-roll is over, I want the music to be low again. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click this ducking feature. You click that, and the duck amount, right? So the duck amount is essentially, you can go, obviously, how low, how many decibels it gets quiet, like how quiet it gets. And the fade is how many, how many seconds or milliseconds it takes to fade in and fade out. And that's how it generates the keyframes. So essentially, let me just show you. If I hit generate keyframes, I don't know if you guys can see, I'll open this a little bit. So I generated keyframes, but if you check out the levels, it has automatically done the ducking for you now. So now I don't have to go in and manually adjust all the audio levels to duck up and down. It literally just, it recognized where the audio was, clicked generate keyframes, and now it is generating all the places. If you see like the audio levels, it's going up here, ducking back down, going up where it's quiet, ducking back down. It does it seamlessly, guys. It's kind of crazy. And so this is another great thing too, is that let's say, you know how sometimes when you're cutting a video, you got revisions, and then the client's like, hey, let's just take out this whole 1 minute section. Then you're like, oh my goodness, like the song is not matching now. And then you got to go in and adjust all the song, all the levels again. You just tweaked it all. Now you got to go in and duck everything again. But this is why this AI, this tech that they have in Essential Sound Tab is so mind blowing, because let's say I move this track over. Let's say I move it like over here, right? So now it's actually different. This part, a different part of the song. But as you can see, now it's all like messed up, right? Like the ducking is not working where it is. Easy, you know, I just go back to music. I don't know why I did this. I just go back to music. It highlights it, right? Boom. Hit generating keyframes again. And now it changed it again. It recognized that there was a change, and now it just ducked again at the right levels. Kind of crazy. I don't know. When I found that out, guys, I was kind of mind blown, because that has saved me so much time in edits. You have no idea. Like I used to duck manually. You guys don't even want to know how I used to do it before. It just took me too much time. And whenever I had like audio levels, and especially when there's long form videos, like 10, 20 minutes, and I'm like, client wants to take out 5 minutes. Now I got to go back and duck all that audio. That alone can take an hour straight up, depending on how long the video is. So have this like manually, or having this use AI, because essentially what this on the back end, it's recognizing all the audio levels, it's knowing what music is, knowing what dialogue is. This is seriously, yeah, a game changer. So next, let's go over, hopefully that helps with sound and music, guys. We can answer any questions at the end in the Q&A. So let's go into color grading a little bit. I'm gonna show you guys adding LUTs into Premiere Pro, importing LUTs for quicker use, using an adjustment layer, how I do that, and using Lumetri color panel. So this is the color panel. This is like kind of a clip that I have from the same project. Basically, if you look here, I have some color grades on here. So this is, now, if you don't shoot in log, a lot of you guys won't have flat footage that looks as flat as this. And so for me, I shoot on like a Blackmagic camera. So traditionally with all the cameras that have been coming out, you have like a log profile, right? So you have Sony S log, Canon C log, whatever, right? Raw footage. It gives this flat look and feel. And that's why color grading is so important. And why a lot of you'll hear the term color grading a lot if you're not too into the log format just yet. But yeah, essentially when I add color, now it looks like a normal image that you would see like on a finished product. So I'm going to show you guys how I do that real quick. So first things first is I added an adjustment layer. And so actually, before we get there, let me show you how I import LUTs into Premiere Pro. It's really simple. So if you go into, I just have Premiere Pro 2019 actually, just to show you guys. Oh, hold on. Show and Finder. So I'll do Premiere Pro 2020. Click on the icon, right click it, Show and Finder. Show package contents. We'll answer this question if you have more in later too, but open Lumetri. We'll do LUTs, creative, and these are the LUTs that I have imported from places that I've bought or whatever. They're all in here. So that way, when I click on Premiere Pro, when I click on the Lumetri tab right here, all the LUTs that I just showed you guys in that source folder, they're all here for me to like plug and play and mess with. So I'm not sure if you've had struggle with that in the past, but that's how you import LUTs, so you can preview them very much quicker instead of like hitting browse and then trying to find the LUT, test it, and all that kind of stuff. Just import them into Premiere Pro, save you a lot of time. So after you've imported all your LUTs and you want to test them, so traditionally, like a lot of people in the past, I will like literally go in and individually edit each clip, copy paste the LUT, and like tweak it every single one. And I still do individually basically color correct these. However, just to get like the base set up, if you shoot in log and you want to get the whole kind of base foundation set, what I'll do is I'll create an adjustment layer. So go down here, this bottom left, new item, adjustment layer. I'll create one. Essentially what it's doing is it's adding an effect. It's adding some sort of change, right? Some sort of change, like whatever's under this pink bar adjustment layer, whatever's under this, there's some sort of change occurring that goes along all the clips. And so that's why I have an adjustment layer down here. And I just showed you guys how to make an example one just to show you how I did it. But once you have the adjustment layer, I go into Lumetri color panel, right? I'll open up creative and then I'll add a LUT from here. And so that's how I get the color. Oh, it looks like the LUT disappeared. So let's see here. Now that I have the adjustment layer here, I'll go into creative, add the LUT, and then I have the LUT. But what's great about it, because it's on the adjustment layer, right? You see how this white is highlighted? Everything under the pink has the LUT, and I don't have to go in and manually add it to each clip, which is really nice. It saves a ton of time. And also too, if it's like I go in here and adjust the exposure for just this, it's doing it on everything, right? So if I go here, it's dark across everything. So it just kind of like batches it, you know? Sometimes that can be a good thing, so it can be a bad thing. But essentially, once I add the base correction with an adjustment layer, I'll watch the video again and I'll go through it. And then that's when I will like, you know, go in, like if it looks a little dark, that's when I'll like bump it up a little bit. That's when I'll bump it up a little bit. Oh, that's why I'm not quick. So if I need to tweak this, like because I don't want to adjust, I don't want to change all the clips, I just want to change this one, I can just click on just the clip, not the adjustment layer, just the clip. And then I'll just adjust the exposure, adjust the contrast, things like that. So that's really kind of like color and using a very simple plug and play color correction method. There are way more advanced ways to color grade. Like for example, if I go in here, and Lumetri is pretty good, especially if you're not too into coloring. You just want to get a good looking image. Like I could go into here, open up the curves. For example, like if it's looking a little, like you can adjust and single out manual colors, like pull the curves down. As you can see, like there's less orange now, like just depending on what you want to do, and you can really mess with it to really dial in the color that you want. Yeah, so there's comment sections on it's good unless you have clips that have different lighting. Very true, but that's why it's good to, like, if you see here, like just batch the clips, right? So for me, like these are two separate adjustment layers, right? Because this set of clips looks so different than the rest. So these are just two separate color corrections. So once you take in the file organization, you cut up your B-roll, you add the assembly, you assemble your video, you add levels of music. This is kind of like what a final timeline looks like for me. I try to keep it semi-organized, but yeah, it's not too crazy. I don't have a bunch of sound design and stuff like that on it because it's just a talking B-roll clip or talking kind of like working video with B-roll. So it's not too crazy, but this is kind of what a final timeline would look like for me. But I want to go into the next thing, which is the extra finishing touches, which is like sound design, motion graphics titles, and export settings. That's this last tab that I've kind of prepared for you guys. And so here it's a whole another different, it's a separate project that I have, but this is like a little coffee sequence that I created for a client of mine. So has sound design, as you guys can see down here, there's a little bit more green bars because there's just more sound going on, because there was no, I didn't want to use the sound from the actual video clip. So I actually sourced all of this right here is just like coffee sounds. And maybe shoot me a DM on Instagram if you want to hear what this actually sounds like, so we don't have audio turned on. But this is all sound design. There's like coffee sounds and like grinding and pouring, things like that. There's two things I want to show you from this edit, guys, is the importance of sound design. So traditionally, like if you have an edit and all you do is just put the clips and a song, let's just say like just this one bar was there and cancel out all this other green bars and that wasn't there, that's fine, but you'll find yourself with kind of a bland video, you know? It's really important to immerse your viewer into your edits because that is how you kind of bring your videos alive. So this is a coffee, right? When you walk into a coffee shop, when you're editing videos, you definitely want to make sure that they can feel immersed in your edit, right? Like you feel the sounds, what is going on, and that's why sound design is so important. So I've created all these sound effects to go alongside this sequence. I found my sound effects on a wide different range of places. I think maybe Adobe, Emily can correct me on this, but I'm pretty sure Adobe Stock has some audio assets. I usually use a website also called freesound.org. Freesound.org is where I find a lot of my free sound effects. Also, like obviously if you have a subscription to like Epidemic Sound and Storyblocks, they have sound effects as well. So making sure you put sound design, guys, is really important. Just try your very best. One thing I like to do as well is like when I'm editing, I'll turn this music off. So this is like a audio, this is like a music track, but I'll basically turn that off when I'm trying to sound design, and I'll just watch the video like silent. I'll just watch the video silent and I'll see where basically it needs sound. Because when you have the music going on, it's really hard to tell where it needs sound design because the music track is already pumping in your ear. So turn the music track off and then try to figure out where the sound design needs to go. A lot of you guys are kind of asking in the questions about proxies a little bit. We'll go over that maybe towards the end. But yeah, if you guys notice here, I shot this on the new Canon R5 and it shoots in the H.265 codec, kind of like jargon that you may not be familiar with, but if you are, that's why I'm using proxies. If you see, I have proxies toggled on and off because the computer, I'm editing off of iMac Pro, but even then it's still chugging. And so I made proxies to have it edit a little bit smoother. So it's like a 720 resolution you guys are seeing right now, but once I have the proxies off, this is the full res. It just works a lot harder on the computer, and we can answer any proxy questions in the past in the end of the workshop. The last thing I would love to show you guys is, before export settings, is motion graphics titles. So titles, guys, have been a big part. This is a good tip for you freelancers out there. Titles are huge for Facebook ads, Instagram ads. A lot of clients, they want copy on their videos, right? Like, don't be sold the idea that only cinematic sequences make money, because cinematic sequences are good, but to be honest, like a lot of them don't sell. And when you're trying to work with clients, it's more of a freelancer tip. When you're working with clients, you need to be able to help them make money. And what makes money is ads that have titles on it. However, if you're like me and you don't really have a fun time diving into Adobe After Effects too heavy, because that takes up a lot of time. And although to Premiere Pro and After Effects link pretty good, you can have good kind of bridge system there. For me, I like to stay in one software. And for me, Adobe Premiere Pro is my choice. And so we have to use, and I'm nothing against After Effects, by the way. Like if you're a beast in After Effects, hats off to you. This tip is more so for people who are trying to stay in Premiere Pro and want to have titles, but not just like a bland title that fades in and out. We're talking like a motion graphics title. So right here, if you can see, I have this amazing flavor motion graphics title. I did not make this and spend hours on it. It's super simple. What I did was, if you go to the tabs, I have essential graphics here. And these are .mgrt files or MOGRT files. And that is why they've implemented this essential graphics tab, because if you look here and I click on this MOGRT title, I can actually adjust it, kind of like a similar title. I can adjust the tracking. I can adjust the size, which is pretty awesome. I can adjust the copy. I can adjust, font, whatever the case may be. And what's really nice about it, you can change the position. So it's really customizable. And what's cool about it is no matter what I do, right? Even if I make the tracking like this, it's carrying over the graphic. So it's carrying over the graphic, like motion graphic, basically, the part that makes it, an animation. It's retaining all of that information, but just changing the text in the copy, which is really handy. because when I need to drag a new one in here, let's say this is title 3, I literally just drag this title in that I've got from a template, drag it in from the Essential Graphics tab. Now it plays. I can go in here, adjust the text 2 settings, which is the Jason Tyson that you guys see. I could just change it. Let's just say coffee video. And now it still has the graphic. And I can still adjust it in the graphic parameters. And change it here. I didn't spell coffee right. But yeah, you guys get the point. So it's really simple. And another good comment that it was just in the chat box was, make sure these graphics are saving to where your project is, or you will suffer. Facts. Okay, like we learned in file management, guys, make sure you save your files out all at the source, because if you don't, you'll regret it if these file and titles are not linking later. So if you guys actually look here on the bottom left, motion graphics templates, it has it saved here, and I've set it automatically, at least for mine. It just saves in a folder in the same source file that we showed you guys earlier on my desktop drive. And so yeah, make sure that your motion graphics template or whatever you're using is also in the project file, not in Premiere Pro, but on your hard drive. Yeah, so things like lower thirds, titles, YouTube intros, all that kind of stuff that is important, but you want it to be animated. Mulger titles using the Essential Graphics tab is a game changer. It'll save you a lot of time instead of diving into After Effects and doing it all manually. As far as adjusting the duration of the motion graphics, let's say, obviously these have a fixed time. And so let's say you want to make it faster. You hit Command R. It's a quick function that I use. Command R. And essentially it brings up the speed duration of the clip. So I actually just change it to, like, if I want it faster, I just change it to like 200, shortens the clip, and it brings out the graphic a lot faster than if I were to do, 100, comes out a lot slower. So that's how I would basically change the speed of the motion graphics title. And yeah, there's definitely, like, I won't go over it in this video, but if you look up .mgrt files on like Google, you should be able to find some templates for these motion graphics titles. Sweet. Let's go over export settings real quick. So let's say I have my Final Cut here. Let's go back to my previous project. Really quick, we'll go to File, Export, Media. So these are my export setting window. So this is how I export my videos. I will basically choose a preset custom just kind of to get it started. So like this is going to go on YouTube, and essentially what I'll do is I want 4K. So we'll do YouTube 2160 4K preset custom. Now it's kind of preloaded a preset, but I'll still go in and tweak a few things. If you see here, I have export video, export audio checked. This is where you change the name. So I'll be like steak video 4K, save. Also make sure, guys, like I said, where is it saving? Save to the source folder, guys. Make sure all your files are saved to the source folder. So once you figure out the name, your preset, you're gonna wanna go down. This is important, guys. Render maximum depth, use maximum render quality. And then after that, it's important that you do bitrate encoding. VBR2 pass helps with passing it and the quality and the bitrate. And then for me, this is more of like a Mac thing. I'm not sure if you guys have dealt with this, but I use a correction LUT at the end because Mac, they're not really dialed in. They have Retina displays, and even though I use the Adobe RGB kind of like screen preset, still sometimes have some color differences, like when you export from Premiere Pro and what I see from the export. So I'll actually just go in here and I'll add like a correction gamma LUT I can answer more of these more on that in the Q&A, but essentially I add like a LUT at export to make sure the colors match perfectly. But for the most part, that's all I do. The most important things, guys, just like really quick recap if you want about exporting. VBR2 pass, use maximum render quality, render at maximum depth. Remember those 3 things and you should be pretty good at the export. And make sure that you're also exporting audio and video, obviously, if you have both. Sweet. So yeah, there's honestly so many more things that we can consider. Basically, we want to make sure that we want to keep an efficient workflow, both from file organization all the way to the end, which is exporting. All these tips that I gave you guys, hopefully will save you some time in the edit. But yeah, that wraps up my presentation. We're gonna get into the Q&A here now. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully you took something away from that online workshop. There's a lot of things to digest, especially depending on your experience with Adobe Premiere Pro. But yeah, let's go into some Q&A. And if you want to connect with me, I'll bring the slide back up later. But let's go into Q&A. Let me see here. Cool. So I have open Q&A. Hopefully I'm doing this right. So yeah, if you guys have questions, guys, once again, put it into the Q&A box at the bottom, not the chat box, because I might miss it. Make sure you put onto the Q&A box. So yeah, would you like to share with us this export LUT correction? Yes, but not on this call. Maybe shoot me a DM on Instagram and I'll be happy to answer that question for you, just because it gets kind of into the weed on the science of more of like a Mac thing. It's not really an Adobe thing. And this is more of an Adobe workshop. So let's save that for another time. But yeah, shoot me a DM and I'm happy to help you on that. Let's see here. Why choose 2-pass versus CBR? It's a good question. I actually don't know the science behind what's happening. When I was learning video from my last job, I just know that VBR2 pass essentially encodes it 2 times or renders it twice. I think maybe Emily can correct me on that, but I think that the 2 pass helps it with the quality so that it's just a cleaner feed when it exports. How do I create this side-by-side panel? I like to do vids that have a still image and sometimes vids that I'm reacting to. Oh, okay. Side-by-side panels in Premiere Pro, you're gonna have to make some sort of preset that allows you to adjust the sizing of it. Essentially, here, I want to show you guys, but really quick to answer that question. So let me share my screen again one more time. So let's say you have 2 video clips stacked here, right? One thing you can do is so just for like ease of use, actually, let's just like take this. Let's say you have 2 clips. This is your frame, right? Just what I would do, at least the quick and dirty way to do it. Let me just adjust these panels real quick. As you go to effects, look up crop feature. Yeah, you drag it onto the clip. As you see on the left side, there is the crop section. I'll do like right side, left side, right? Let's go and drag it onto the left side. I'll move the position at the very top, move it over, right? And then let's say I have another clip. Let's say this was like a talking one or something like that, right? Let's just say, for example's sake, I'll put it here. Now we have this. Let's say I want another video to come up on the right side of it. Same thing, you know, crop, right, left, and then we'll just move it over like this. And then what you want to do is make sure you drag it on top of each other. So now they're seamlessly playing at the same time. Hopefully that answers your question. I essentially just use the crop feature. Okay, guys. Awesome. Okay, there's 40 questions in here. Hopefully we can get to a lot of them. I might have to pick and choose just because we only have like 15 minutes for this Q&A. But let's see what we can do here. Go over creating proxies in Premiere. That's like actually a good one. If your computer, guys, has a really hard time processing footage, like it has, like depending on your computer specs, if you have importing video footage and your computer's like just chugging, like the fans are kicking on and it's just not playing back smoothly, yeah, I do want to share some tips on that. So what you want to do is then from here, let me share screen one more time. You're going to want to make proxies. If you want to make proxies, you have to go. So before you make proxies, one thing I would recommend before you get to that step, if your computer's having a hard time, is you see this window right here. If you see this window right here, it's like full. This is the resolution playback, guys. So right now it's at full res, meaning it's trying to play this 4K/6K footage at full res. Go down to like 1/4 or 1/8 and play it back. And your computer, it's like, if you can see in the window, it's like a little bit lower quality now when it's playing, but that's because it's not being so intensive on trying to play full res. And essentially what it will do is it'll play at an eighth quality, eighth of the quality or a fourth of the quality, and then it should have an easier time playing back in your computer depending on your specs. If that still doesn't work, then yeah, you're definitely going to want to make proxies like I did for the Canon R5 footage as you saw. So what I did there was, if you go here, let's say I just batched these clips. These are all the 6K clips I need to make proxies for. So I'll go here, right click all your clips, modify, or sorry, right click, go to proxy, create proxies. And I'm not going to click it because it takes a process, but when you click it, Adobe Encoder will open up and it'll create proxies for you at a lower resolution, because that's what a proxy is. Essentially, it's mirroring your clip to make a lower version. So if you have a 4K clip, it's going to make it like a 720 clip that your computer can process easier, even though you're still editing it. But when you export it, even though you use the 720 clip to play it back, when you export it, it'll export the full 4K quality. It's like a little hack to get your footage to play back smoothly. So let's say I have the proxies created, it automatically saves in a folder in the source folder like we talked about. And essentially this toggle switch right here, it says toggle proxies. And if you don't have that icon, you can add it from the button editor. If this plus sign right here, you hit plus, add this proxy toggle icon. And what essentially I'm doing is, let's go to like the coffee video. You see how the black bars are here? Because this clip right now is showing the proxy. This is the 720 section. This is the 720 clip that I made a proxy for. When I toggle it off, right, I click the toggle. Now this is showing the actual Canon R5 4K clip. But if I play it back in the it's gonna have a hard time playing this footage because it's so data hungry. But then if I put proxies, now it's gonna have an easier time scrubbing through the timeline because it's a lower res clip. But yes, to answer your question, Mark, when you export though, it'll still export in 4K. It's only using the proxy in the software so that your computer can be less, working less hard. Sweet. Let's see here. Let's go into more questions. Let's see here. How do you set up motion graphics automatic bin? The motion graphics will automatically set. The bin will create by itself once you put the motion graphics in there. Let's see. How do you deliver to clients without, how do you deliver to clients without worrying about compression or loss of quality? I use WeTransfer to deliver all my files to clients, but there's a couple of other ways. I use WeTransfer. But you want to know something cool, guys? I'm going to show you real quick. I also use a program called Frame.io. This is a project, right? This is a program called Frame.io, and it's a cool little software that I use. This is the same client, and what's cool about it is I upload the video into here, and the client actually gives me feedback in real time. These are all revisions that I need to make for the video in real time, and they can actually download the video from here too in the full res version of it without losing any quality. So that's a game changer, honestly. Let's see here. I have an iMac and the color is off from what I see in Premiere Pro and the video export. Can you use any LUT when you export? Only gamma correction. Yes, only the gamma correction LUT that I showed you guys earlier. You want to use the gamma correction LUT, and like I said, that's more of a, it's not really a Premiere Pro thing, it's more of a Mac thing, because most of the iMacs or Macs have the Retina displays. That's where the it's having a hard time because it's not corrected truly for Adobe RGB color spectrum. But that's more of, you have to use the gamma correction. So let's you can connect with me on that after. Okay, do you have advice pertaining to editing longer, more data intensive videos? Could you be more specific on that? Maybe put another Q&A. I don't exactly know what you mean by saying pertaining to editing longer, more data intensive. Are you saying like just longer videos? Maybe reword that question. I'll be happy to answer it. As a BMPCC user who also received Resolve with the camera, why do you? Okay, that's a good question. Personally, I love Premiere Pro. I've just used Premiere Pro ever since I started this video journey, and it's just like really second nature to me. I know, you know, there's other softwares out there, but for me, like Premiere Pro just really works into my kind of creative process, and I know it so well, and I have never had really major problems with it. So I just have stuck with Premiere Pro, and for me, like I don't get too deep into color grading, so the Lumetri Color tab is good enough for me. Do you ever work off a hard drive, or do you only have files on your local drive for your iPod? I actually work off of those hard drives I just mentioned in the beginning of this workshop. So I actually like, so you know when you're buying a computer, you're always split between like, oh, should I get 256 SSD or should I get 2 terabytes? And the 2 terabyte one is like crazy expensive. Don't go that route. I mean, you can. SSD is always good for internal, but for me, I always just get like the cheapest Mac in terms of the storage size, and then I'll get like a really solid hard drive and I'll edit off the hard drive. The more important thing when you're editing is a lot of times it's for the processing speed and the RAM. Those are things that are more important for the editing your video projects. As far as yes, also it just said in the chat box, please, we're going to go into the Q&A, keep going into Q&A, but make sure to fill out the survey that's in the chat box, guys. It'll really help us dial in these, it'll help us dial in more of these workshops in the future. And someone's talking in the chat box as well. Samsung T7 SSD, yes, 10 out of 10 would recommend, especially if you're shooting on like the newer cameras now. You can shoot straight onto the SSD while I'm plugged into your camera and then edit the footage on that T5 SSD. I'm gonna have to pick and choose some of these questions. That's a good question. When applying LUTs, do you typically start with the LUT that a manufacturer provides for their native log footage? No, I actually use my LUTs that I kind of done research on and like people that I found that I like using their LUTs on. So sometimes I try not to, even though Blackmagic, I use their pocket cameras, that they've been pretty good about it. How easy, I have 8 years of experience in Sony Vegas Pro 13. How easy will it be to transition to Premiere and After Effects with the experience I already have? Honestly, pretty seamless. There are so many videos on the web about Premiere Pro. And honestly, we didn't really go into like the super basic shortcut keys today in this editing workflow, but it's really not too bad. It's a little bit overwhelming at first if you're not familiar with the program. However, once you understand shortcuts, it makes a lot more sense. And just like anything, you just have to start and you'll get the hang of it. Oh, that's a good question. When you do color correcting for different clips with different exposures and color, is there a way to batch color correct instead of going into each clip and adjusting the exposure and color, or sync from one setting to many other clips? So yes, you can do the adjustment layer like we talked about, but if you need to adjust like maybe 2 or 3 specifically under that batch, you can copy and paste in the effects tab, just copy and paste the color. Just copy and paste and it'll, so I'm gonna show you that real quick because I feel like it will be helpful. So if you go into this Premiere Pro project, let's say I have this clip right here that I have color corrected, and say like exposure's up. I want to put the exposure up, let's just say, right? But now let's say I want to also bring this one, have the exposure up, but I don't want it to affect everything else. I don't want to have to do that again. You go to Lumetri Color, like a Word document, you just Command C, you copy, go here, Command paste. Super simple. And that's how you can kind of like more quickly edit more and more, or color correct a lot more clips at the same time. Let's see. Let's go. Yes, how do you get smooth slow motion? Do you use time remapping? Yes, what I showed you guys earlier when I was adjusting the motion graphics title using Command R to bring up the time settings, that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I do for the clips to adjust the smoothness and get the slow motion footage. Let's see. Have you been getting render errors more often lately using the render max depth checkboxes? No, I haven't actually. So I'm not sure if that's something you can reach out to support with, but I don't really have ever any crashes when I'm using render. Let me have the background of the video. This is a random question, but in order for me to have the background of the video blurry, do I need a lens or can I do it in Premiere Pro? Yeah, you can do it in Premiere Pro by masking your subject. And then I didn't do any masking in this workshop, but yeah, you can definitely do that. It just won't look as natural, but you can definitely like kind of cut out your subject, mask it, and then make a blurry background. However, my tip is, video tip, always try to get your desired image as close as you can in camera. Don't trust on post-production. Try to make it look beautiful in camera in front of the lens, and then use the post-production process to kind of enhance it, which is what this is about, guys, enhancing your edit. Don't save your edit, guys, with Premiere Pro. Do not save your edit. Have a good video, have good footage, enhance it using editing software like Adobe Premiere Pro. Let's see. What do you, when you do slow-mo? When you do slow-mo, let's say it's recorded at 120 FPS, what is the best speed per percentage to slow it down? I slow down my 120 FPS footage in time remapping by around 50%, 50 to 40% actually. Let's see. Yeah, don't change the target bit rate at all. Kyle at Sims has a question. Basically, my answer to that is you don't have to change the target bit rate unless you really, really want to. But for me, the presets have worked pretty well. Surprisingly, even if you export at like 10 bit rate, guys, 10 megabits per second, it still is pretty solid. So 40, when you're doing those presets, like we did on the 4K video, should be more than enough. Let's see. Trying to make sure. And then Emily from Adobe, she's on helping out in the chat box as well, but I think we're gonna end at 12:15. So I'm gonna try to find one more question. Let's see. Yeah, Martin has the same thing with the correction. DM me on Instagram, we chat more about it. We'll end after one more question. Let's see here. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Alonso has a question. Yeah, if you want to connect with me, by the way, guys, make sure to follow. I'll put the window up. But my last question I want to answer is, Alonso, is what are the recommended levels for audio? For example, what level should background audio when someone is speaking? That's a great question. For talking portions, I try to make sure the dialogue is around -6, -9 decibels. Make sure you definitely want to keep your decibels around -6, -9. As far as like music goes, it depends. If it's a super loud track, it's super pumpy, I try to stay those around -29, -28 decibels. But if it's like a lower, more mellow, like lo-fi chill hip hop track, I would say like -25 decibels is a good place to start. So -3, -6 for talking, -25 to -30 for music and background music. So yeah, real quick, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today's workshop. We covered a lot of ground, to be honest, and I'm sorry if I didn't get to your question. We had a lot of questions in the Q&A box, but yeah, feel free to connect with me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Clubhouse. My handle is at Edward Lee Films. Maybe we can connect there and I can help you guys answer any questions we're able to in this workshop. But regardless, make sure you check the chat box one more time. We'd really appreciate it if you fill out the survey that's in the chat box, because it will help us out a lot, and help Adobe out a lot, trying to figure out how to do these workshops in the future, and your feedback is much appreciated. But yeah, once again, my name's Edward Lee. Thanks for tuning into this workshop, and let's connect on social media. Bye, guys.